let's make it one.
Yes.
All right, well, it's 5 o'clock, so
One
we'll
second.
call to order this meeting of the common council in the director.
She's gonna start there.
Now we are.
I
Okay.
said that so well. Someone say it. Are we? It's 5 p.m. So the Common Council Infrastructure Committee is meeting today. We'll start with a roll call. Mayor Rosenquist here. Councilor Talon.
Here.
Councilor Kelly here. Councilor Moore is excused tonight. First item on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes from the April 3rd, 2023 Infrastructure Committee. May I have a motion to approve? Motion. Moved by Councilor Talon and seconded by Mayor Rosenquist. All in favor? Okay, I assume there's no discussion. Okay. All right, public works. 2.1, discussion of infrastructure and capital projects report. Well, you said Sarah, Michael.
Yeah, big crowd tonight. So we'll give you a quick rundown and hit talking points here. DPW operational activities, work continues or is actually at full speed on the emergency water line job, finishing service lines and sidewalk restoration and lawn restoration. I believe today we have a little over 2,000 feet of sidewalk that's going to be placed. So we're in good shape there. As far as service lines go, I think we probably have a dozen left to switch over. So we're in very good shape. Citywide, we're still out with our guys paving and patching potholes, focused on leak patches from the previous winter. We had some large areas that we had to patch ourselves in-house, and the plants opened up, and we are out doing that. Yard waste, been a good year for yard waste. We've been able to keep up with it. Had a nice birthday, that helped out for sure. That's going well. Beach, we've gone as far as we can for the time being is opening the beach. Is cleanup of the parking lot and low sand. Water that's still a little bit high to be grooming the beach. Probably have about 6 foot of beach showing. So as soon as the water is received, we'll get going on that, prepare for beach season. The bathhouse is in the process of development. Again, parks, we're in really good shape. Melissa Penfield, whoever Ray over there did a fantastic job, by the way. The guys really appreciate the effort of the volunteers. So that helped out a lot. General maintenance, guys are out doing catch basin and manhole repair, also some valve work. This is the time of year where we need to get ahead of that. This is prep work for the upcoming paving schedule later on this year. Street sweeping is ongoing. Again, making good positive headway on that. Both trucks are out. We'll probably be at the end of the month switching over one truck to be catch basin clean, and continue on with a single super truck. Motor fleet maintenance, the mechanics are putting the plows to bed for the season, taking the sanders off or spreaders off, taking wings off, cleaning them up from the winter season, and they'll go into storage. The city marinas and boat launches have been installed, ready to go for the upcoming season. Water is a little bit high right now. Like I said, they are there and ready to go. And then one of the other activities that we started actually late last week, and we talked about it at the manager meeting, is we have started with our tow program for the garbage service. We should garbage tows to our customers starting with bi-weeklies. It's a kind of a tenuous process. We do have to reach out to our existing customers, get them to sign a form and get it out to them, but we are moving forward with it. And we've had a lot of positive response. A handful of people that are a little bit concerned about it. It's a change, but I think for the most part, it's been real positive feedback.
Can you describe for us what a tote is?
The tote is the standard you would see around it. They either 90s, we have 2 sizes. Currently, the most common is a 96 gallon tote. That's what most garbage services throughout the North Country use. So that's what you would see with the solid have as a passing tool with 2 wheels and handle you can roll it. We do have a smaller size for some of the weekly customers that generate a small amount, but typically what we're looking for is to get most people into that 96 gallon size. And that's the common size that makes us comparable to their competitors. There is some marketing involved too. It has a city logo on it, city name on it, so they can identify it. Makes it easier for our men to actually pick the garbage. Makes it easier to control if there's issues. How much garbage is loose. A lot of times in the old days, people were putting loose garbage out. You're allowed to put it out 24 hours in advance. You still are, but loose bags don't really help us out too much. So crows like them, but not us. So that's where we're going, making good steady progress on that one. And there was, like I said, we had a meeting earlier today with the department heads, and there's a lot of work in the finance department. I haven't seen it, you don't see it, really had to work to get it just right. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Moving on, unless there's any questions about the operational stuff. DPW capital activities. Like I said, the base emergency water line project, New York Road. We also had that water line project last year. There's a handful of warranty items that the contractor should be returning, I would say, in the next month or so to take care of. And then on the agenda tonight, item 5 of my talking points is road resurfacing for 2023. We spent some time and looked at the capital plan as opposed to what needs to be done for this calendar year. And we've adjusted it. The overall dollar amount for 2023 of what we're proposing is the same as what we had in the capital plan, just the streets are a little bit much changed. So when we get to that, well, actually we talk about it right now, because that's a question, I guess.
So these, it looks like, four streets in the New Bays area.
Yeah.
Like Country Village area. Those are scheduled to be resurfaced, and I assume that you made an assessment to determine.
Yeah, we went around all the works. We looked at, obviously we have a very large scale project downtown, which I think is going to interrupt traffic substantially in the center city. So that kind of ruled out the center city. Plus, we looked at potentially North Catherine Street because of the disrepair, but with the heavy trucks going to be running on it, I don't think it would be advisable to work any of those type of streets. So we shied away from there. We looked at the other wards. We did a parish amount in the Hill area last year. And then also on the base, we had considered originally paving the roads, knowing paving the roads, we replaced the water lines on. They held up very well over the winter. I think we should push those at least 1 or 2 more seasons to see how they perform. And pick off some more appropriate ones. The streets that we have on this list, I don't think if you wrote them today, you would really know arguments about the choices.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, I'm going to turn it over now. Well, actually, before I turn it over to Andrew, talk about Margaret Street and his capital projects. A couple miscellaneous items. The parklets have started to go out. There are a handful. We have City Hall Place, and I believe we're going to have one in the parking lot to cover electeds. And we're still looking at potentially Elm River's, right? Yeah, correct. So that's what we have left part. So we're getting, like I said, we're dated as far as the routine database stuff and all the things we check off. Also, we have a lengthy list of donated items that the DPW can pass and install. We have sign, batting cages. We also have some of our own stuff that we have, specialty radar signs, which we did do on North Margaret, the first one, and the second one that you guys have. We still have 2 more to install, and we also have signalized crosswalks. So those are going to be coming up hopefully sooner or later. And then special events, we have a half marathon coming up at the end of the month, and DPW has some involvement in that. Now, so the assistance. right now I'll turn it over to Andrew and he'll give you the big spiel on Market Street, which is probably really the most people listen.
Thank you, Michael.
So last week, we really kicked off our meat and potatoes of the work at Margaret Street. We did our water line tie-in at Broad Street. That went very, very well. Considering we were tying into some pipe that was 1890s. Pipe was in really good shape. Everything went well. Boil water notice, retention notice actually came out today. So everybody's been notified they don't boil water anymore. On Friday, the contractor was able to put 100 feet of pipe in the ground, which they weren't expecting to do. So we're 100 feet ahead of schedule. They got about 50 feet in today, even with the rain. So we're cruising right along installing water line. Next week. So this week, they're going to continue heading north, get to the intersection with Brinkerhoff. They'll pressure test and chlorinate, and then from there, they will continue north from Brinkerhoff to Court Street and do that section next week. Also next week, they're going to be having their crews put in sections of the service lines for the fire lines that go to the buildings. So they'll be working a little bit on that, get things up and running for that section. So that's kind of where we're heading in the direction. Now, a couple of cool things I want to show you guys that we found out there. So we got a lot of these asphalt bricks, and actually, I'm not sure what the age of this is, but they actually the entire road surface out of Margaret Street was brick at one time. And then they paved over the top of it. So as we're peeling the road back, we're finding all of these bricks underneath the asphalt, which is pretty cool. Now, the one thing that's really cool, at least on my end, from the facility standpoint, if you haven't ever seen it before, this is what wood water main looks like. So we came across a section of wood water main last week. So what they did is they took a tree, and we actually have the other end where the trunk was, where it gets wider, and they hollow that out, and then they take another piece and they cut a notch in it, and they slide it inside, and then they would drill a hole through here with a spoon drill. And that's amazing that it's still preserved like this, because this is going to be anywhere from mid 1700s to early 1800s that this was installed in the ground. You're talking guys with shovels putting this in the ground. There was no machinery around to do this when this was laid in the ground. So you're talking our founding fathers put this in the ground.
Needs to go to the museum.
So, yes, so I'm hoping we come across more of it. This is the piece that I brought for the mayor, but we do have some more of it back in the shop.
Well, looks pretty well.
It's held up very well. I'm not sure if they coated it with anything. I'm assuming it's elm, maybe, looking at it. Definitely not cedar, but yeah, pretty cool.
Can you hold it up for the camera? Look at that, isn't it cool?
Yeah. So that is wood water main. So we're progressing along very well with Margaret Street. Contractor's been excellent. Any small changes we've had, they've been working great with us.
Sorry, I will say that I drive through every day. Yeah, on my
Yes.
way, and I drive through every day. Stop and say hi, just see how things are going. It's a mess, like we said, but you know, other than the first few days of hiccups, we've, you know, really, they've been doing excellent work. Responding to any concerns. I've only heard maybe one or two concerns downtown from business owners or restaurants or folks like that. Other than that.
Yeah, we've been trying, anytime anybody has concerns, I'm right there trying to address them, make sure to keep businesses happy. I've had a lot of conversations so far with a lot of business owners, and they're excited about the project. Obviously, a lot of them are nervous, but we're pushing through it. So,
And they're putting the word out too, to go to like Turkey Street entrances if they have them.
Yeah.
They're putting it out.
yes, yep,
And that's encouraged too, because we can do so much, but they have direct access to their own customers. We do encourage them to also just give alternate spots for parking, alternate spots for entrance, if they have one, and just keep pushing the word that we're open for business and keep going.
I had a couple today approach me. They were actually moving into downtown. They had to get a U-Haul in. So they're like, well, what do we do? I'm like, you bring your truck right here and move these stones, and you pull your truck in right here and you unload right here. You know, it's just making sure that people can do the business they have to do and then get out when they need to get out. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible. So, any questions about Market Street? Okay. Cornelia Street, we're still, in that little limbo. I have to get a hold of Barton with Judas. We are tentatively scheduled for sometime this week, beginning of next week, sometime for a meeting, for a progress meeting on, Upper Cornelia Street. So, we'll have a better update for that project next month. We briefly talked about the Broad Street road diet pedestrian safety project that we've got going on. We've got a meeting with SUNY this week, I believe, to discuss probably some shared services with us and SUNY through that Broad Street corridor.
You're familiar, are you all familiar with that?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yep. I'm just kind of going through, one thing we actually started doing, I should touch base on this. We got a group of us together and we started capital projects coordination group. So we can track what we've got going on with all of our capital projects and coordinate with all of the other departments when other people need help or if we need communications. So we all as a group are collectively working on that. So I've got a spreadsheet here with a list of all of our capital projects. So I'm just kind of going down through them here. A lot of these are either haven't started yet or we're just in beginning phases. Bridge New York grant application, we're still waiting to hear back for that. That's for the bridge right here that goes over the railroad tracks. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done, so we are hoping for that. PSAP grant, that is we're getting ready to set up the pre-construction meeting, so Dow Electric can go ahead and get started with that project.
PSAP is Cornelia Street.
You know, it's that's the pedestrian safety action plan, but it is originally it was supposed to be the Broad Street, Cornelia Street intersection there, the triangle. When we got the grant from the state to do Upper Cornelia Street, we changed our focus of the PSAP to a couple other intersections along Cornelia Street. So those are going to be for Cornelia and Beekman and Cornelia and North Catherine Street, right by St. Peter's Church. So both of those are signalized, but neither of them have pedestrian push buttons. So we're going to upgrade those lights and we're going to upgrade to push button crosswalks. The full gamut there. The other intersections that we had in that grant application are getting taken care of by the Margaret Street project, which is the intersection by the library. So that one is all included in the Margaret Street project. So that'll be upgraded because we've got a lot of kids that are at the library. And that's kind of a weird intersection with one-way traffic and 2 lanes, people fly through there. So that'll be a good one to have as well. So that's all I got. You guys got any questions? Capital projects?
We have a couple resolutions tonight. I'd like to ask a question or two when we get to those.
Sure.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on our agenda is the draft resolution revising capital project H5110.96 2023 street resurfacing.
Motion.
Mayor Rosenquist, seconded by Councilor Talon. Discussion.
As Andrew outlined, the roads that are on this 2023 paving program are roads that we have, you drive around, you take an assessment, and we hear it all the time. Of course, and these are issues that we try to respond to. This typically covers a majority of the worst off roads. That doesn't prevent us from coming back to doing pothole replacement and pothole repair. A lot of, I think a lot of this is also educational for our residents and our community to say, money's paid for towards road resurfacing and pothole pavement come from a very specific fund. It doesn't come out of general fund. It's not a taxpayer, quote unquote taxpayer dollar, city of Plattsburgh taxpayer money. It is a state program, that we gain access to every year that fund these road resurfacing projects. There are guidelines behind, how we can use this money and how often we can use this money for a particular street. As well as capacity as well. So a lot of this stuff, the limitation is capacity. So some of the limitations are capacity as well. And then the amount of funding that we do have access to. But these are ones that we were able to identify as the worst off in the city. But again, we come back and we patching South North Catherine Street and other streets that we hear about, and we do encourage people to send us a message if they have a street that's that they feel more problematic, but needs some attention. We can send crews out. The other response.
The other thing that I said previously is, what we did too, we tried to make sure that we stayed within the same dollar amount as what we had originally put in the capital plan for originally for 2023, working within that window. So it was, you know, even though, like I said, the chips, the touring routes, the paving or our funds are there for us to get, it's 100%. You know, you pave a road, you send the bills, and that we also want to make sure that we keep a track of that tally of what we're spending, and we don't want to overspend. You could very easily spend down all the balances we have. There are prior commitments to the projects, Martyr Street being one of them, capital equipment purchases and the above. So that's the reason why we spend some time with that.
I should have looked at the 2023 budget before I came here with this question, but I didn't, and I thought perhaps one of you guys might know. Are we foregoing some projects this year that were already on the street paving schedule?
Yes, we were.
Favorite D.
Yeah, originally on the 2023 plan, what we had in was Dakota, the full length of George Angel Drive. We're gonna try it for the bottom end, which is above part, going down to the pedestrian bridge, Main Road, Massachusetts, Maryland, and we look at South Acres Drive. That's what originally was on the 2023 plan. And like I said, we looked at it. One street that stuck out to me, and I mentioned it earlier, was North Catherine Street. I have a real hard time with the approach, particularly in Broad Street, and then if you go all the way down through, that is a hot ticket one. But with the truck traffic, it really is, you know, we should just patch it up for the season, get Market Street redone and target that. These other streets that we had on here, a lot of it was based on the emergency water line job and how the patching work performed with the patching performed well. And I think we had a good season or two left over there before we get it over.
Some of those streets you mentioned are in the Lake Country Village area.
Yes.
So we're gonna put those on hold for a while on these and then do these instead.
Correct, yes.
And that's after an assessment on your part to determine what needs to be done.
We rode around and this is typically what we do not typically, this is what we do every year, is we'll assess when we create the budget for the year and the capital plan, we'll look at the streets that are Jesus on pretty rough. And we'll put down that list, and obviously we have a 5-year plan. It's really hard to look at much beyond in this, the way our roads are 2 or 3 years. It also has to do with the volume of traffic they see, and then also work going on in an adjacent area, and in traffic patterns. Also, we try to go ward to ward also. We've done a lot of work in some other wards. This ward in particular, you know, this area of this ward has not been worked on since I've been here. So,
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate that explanation. Any further discussion? All in favor of moving this to the agenda for the regular council meeting, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Move on to the next item, revising capital project 851110.86, 2022 street resurfacing. Version 2. Motion by Mayor Rosequist, seconded by Councilor Down. Discussion.
So, this one was actually a boo on my part. So, what had happened with the Cornelia Street project was we got the funding from the state. We went ahead and hired Barton and Lejudas to do the design. But I forgot to have Rich actually create the capital project, and take the funding and put it in the capital project. So this is just a resolution for you guys to approve to put the funding in the capital project. We've already gotten funding from the state. And we've already awarded the project to Barton and Lejudas. They've already started working on it. So this is just a cleanup, an error.
So in the supporting documentation we received, there was a resolution from 2022 that approved this project.
Correct.
So this is just to set up a capital.
Yes, this should have actually been done at that same time, and I forgot to have Rich do it.
Did we approve the same amount of money? last
So what's happened with the money, if you look at the 92,566, that was the cost to do the traffic study and the base survey. And then the $873,000 is the design cost for Barton and Lejudas. Now, when you look over to cost estimate, that says $580,000. That is the grant from the state for the design. Now, what's hard to understand is the state will give us the $580,000 for preliminary design, and then they'll come back and give us more funding for the final design. I actually had Barton and Lejudas give us the upfront cost for both the preliminary and the final design, which is the $966,000, or the $873,000. So that's why when we look at it, you're only seeing, well, geez, we've only got $580,000 worth of funding, but the project is costing us $873,000, just because we haven't signed the supplemental agreement from the state for the final design funding. The state has told me that they have approximately 1.2 million total in the design, put aside for the design for this project. So we're about $400,000 to the good for what they set aside for design for this project.
Andrew, do you feel like we're getting good value? We're spending $966,000, which to the average person is a very large sum of money.
Right.
But I think most of us understand there's a whole lot of work that has to be done.
There is, and that's, that one is very comparable to Margaret Street in size wise. The difference is, Margaret Street was very heavy on utilities. This is going to be very heavy on pedestrian, bike safety and traffic safety. So where this comes into play, or what comes into play a little bit more with this one, is the potential to have to do highway takings, because we don't have a lot of room for sidewalks out there, so we may end up having to take a few feet of property along the front of other people's property. So that's where this one gets a little bit more difficult, and pricey when you get into that kind of highway takings.
Okay.
And this is a fully funded DOT project.
Yeah, so
Not coming out of the city, we don't bond this, as we're not borrowing money for this.
right, actually, so what had happened is the original grant was an 80-20 match grant. And then the state was actually able to find us some Marcia Shelley funding, which is a federal, to go on top of this. So they brought our match down to, I think it was like 6%. So very, very minimal for this project, especially with the size of this. So that's a good thing.
Was this put out to bid
This hasn't gone out to bid for construction yet.
for design?
So what we do for design for a project like this, there's an approved list. It's called the LDSA list. It's a local design service agreement list. It's approved by DOT. We have 5 engineers on that list. We can, they've already been vetted, so we can choose whoever we want off that list. We chose Barton and Lejudas to do this project for us. So essentially, it wasn't actually put out to bid, but they're all pre-approved engineers from DOT projects.
And this is state money we're talking about, so we have to follow.
You have to follow them, correct? Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more of a process to this versus like Margaret Street. Everything we do has to go to DOT for approval every time we do something.
I have a feeling some of our council will ask the very same question on Thursday night.
And I will be here to answer that question.
And you did a great job, so thank you very much, appreciate that.
Any other questions?
There's no discussion, no further discussion, all in favor of moving this to the regular agenda? Council meeting, I by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. All right, so the next item on the agenda, which is a draft resolution to authorize a bid award recommendation for contract WRRF 2023-03 sodium thiosulfate for the WRRF. I'd like to make the motion. Second. Mayor Rosequist, seconded by Councilor Talon. Discussion.
Sodium thiosulfate is a chemical we add to the last part of the treatment process. After we've disinfected the treated water with chlorine, we take out any residual chlorine with the sodium thiosulfate. So it's something we buy on a regular basis every year. It's typically bid with renewals provided. Renewals previously have expired, so this was put out to bid again.
Noticing the supporting documentation that it's $3.19 a gallon, which is cheaper than a gallon of gas. So,
Yeah, but it's about 40% more than we were paying in 2018.
is that right?
What everything is, yeah, everything went up.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? Thank you very much, John. All in favor of moving to the regular agenda? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, is there any new business tonight we'd like to discuss? New business? Okay, no members of the public are with us tonight, so we'll move on. And I will take a motion for adjournment. Councilor Talon, seconded by Mayor Rosenquist. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.